Hey guys, Dissonor Magic back with part 2 of the video. If you haven't seen part 1, you're probably going to want to watch that first, I guess. Probably wouldn't make sense if you watch this one. It's the very last video in the video list and in the playlist and everything. Just go look for it. Anyway, the overall topic was Vintage and Legacy are dying. That is a fact. And there are 4 major reasons that it's dying, or 4 things that are causing it to die, and then I kind of chronologically ordered them by speed. Spoiler alert, it's pretty urgent of a situation right now. So the good news is this is fixable, and this video is like the positive spin on it. Well, not really. There is no positive spin right now. The outlook is completely grim and the formats will die, but these are 3 things that will fix it. I came up with a couple ways to prevent the death of Vintage and Legacy and prevent, giant price manipulation that'll kill it off, all that. All the reasons all at once, this will solve it completely, and they're very simple. They're so simple, in fact, that if some of these were implemented, it would instantly save the formats. I mean, there's no, maybe this will work. And it's not like, oh, what are we going to do now? The formats are dying, the reserve list is killing it, we're all doomed, there's nothing we could do, somebody come up with something. Because here's what you could do to unequivocally save the formats. The number one thing people are talking about is Wizards could step in and save the formats somehow. But why, though? Why would they do that? They don't make any money on Vintage and Legacy. They're not sitting there selling Black Lotuses every once in a while. They don't own any. Well, I think they do. They're lying about it, whatever. But they don't sell singles, and if they are holding a bunch of Black Lotuses, they aren't going to sell them, is what they're saying. They just helped out everybody by printing Eternal Masters, and, that was a really great extensive set. But for everybody saying that they're trying to save the formats and lower the cost of building a deck by releasing that set, there are just as many people saying, no, they were only trying to make money off of Vintage and Legacy before they die. Now, who knows what the truth really is? Maybe it's both. Who knows? What I did hear as a rumor is that Hasbro, Wizards' parent company, does not want them screwing with the reserve list or doing anything to crash old card prices because they would have tons of angry rich people saying bad things about the MTG products in general, and that's not good. It's just bad press. In fact, my friend told me that Yu-Gi-Oh! Just did some giant reprint of a whole bunch of valuable old school cards that haven't been printed in forever, and everybody's pissed, everybody's talking crap about it, telling people to quit the game, quitting the game themselves. So yeah, I think Hasbro wants to avoid that. Now, there's also a theory I have, and that's that, the good word of mouth effect of people saying, hey, I know a guy who has a $10,000 card, or he found a $1,000 card in an auction lot or an estate sale or whatever, and people go, $1,000. I should look into this Magic the Gathering thing because I also want to make $1,000. Or maybe I could look up some collections or ask around or, get into the game or hold on to some cards for 10 years or whatever. And then they might get interested in Magic and ta-da, you've got a new customer just based on word of mouth, no marketing dollars spent. And I think that's Hasbro's thought process about that. So they do have a small motivation, allegedly, to keep the older formats going and maintain card prices, but also kind of keep them reasonably affordable, at the level they are now, so that the whole format doesn't die, which would cause, a giant crash in the prices. So they have a motivation to not let the cards go up through the roof, and they also don't want them to crash back down, or people would be mad. So if Wizards doesn't want to cancel or modify the reserve list because they said they won't, but it's killing the formats and they really have to do something, and Hasbro allegedly wants them to do something, at some point they're going to have to do something about the reserve list, and here's what I think is the appropriate action to take. Now, people are saying no matter what they do to fix it, they're going to piss somebody off. That is not true. I have a great idea. They could come out and announce tomorrow, hey, we're tweaking the reserve list, and now we're only printing 100 or, whatever they think is appropriate, 100 copies of, let's say, 1/4 of the reserve list cards per set release for the new standard sets. So basically 25%, 4 times a year. So all the cards are reprinted at 100 quantity or whatever, 500, whatever they think is right, per year. And that that many more individual cards from the reserve list are entering the market, but that's it. And then they do them as standard block set release, ultra rare bonus inserts, kind of like expedition cards. So if you open BFZ, you might get a card from, Zendikar, like a Zendikar fetch land. Like an old Zendikar fetch land. It had nothing to do with the set. It wasn't legal in the set, but it was in standard boosters, and it was just extra money for collectors and so that they could get more out there. So, hello, precedent much? So then the total supply of these reserve list cards that are never supposed to be reprinted goes up by a pathetic 100 per year. But if only 100 cards per year are lost or destroyed or whatever, ta-da, they just sustained it. So they're not dumping 100,000 onto the market with a reprint, but they're also not letting the format slowly die. Now think about this. The expected value of a new box just went up a few dollars. Any random, 12-year-old opening a booster that they just won at F&M could pull a $500 card, and that's an exciting prospect. And then Wizards sells slightly more packs than they normally would because people want, a little extra chance at pulling those really expensive cards. And then giant vendors that open hundreds of boxes, like me, might get a little extra reward money-wise that we very much deserve by pulling one or two of these cards. And then Vintage and Legacy doesn't die because the supply of cards is kept pretty steady. But they do it with the prices not crashing because it's honestly not that many cards entering the market. Literally every single person involved wins. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win. There is nothing negative about this solution. Absolutely nothing. I mean, there's just no downside. It's the perfect solution. So let's say you don't want to count on Wizards. You don't think that they're actually going to implement that. You just think they're going to pretend the reserve list isn't a problem, close your eyes, go la 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 la, and just let it, whatever's going to happen is going to happen because they think they're going to piss people off no matter what they do, which that's probably pretty realistic, I would say. Here is a solution outside of Wizards' control that is really simple. Now seriously, everybody listen up really damn hard to this because it's so obvious, and if you don't do this, I will lose all respect for you forever. If you are selling expensive rare cards, especially reserve list cards, do not sell more than 4 to any one individual. Now, there are a ton of vendors that already do this because they are just doing the right thing and they realize the severity of not doing this. Card Kingdom, for example, as far as I know from what I saw on their website, you cannot order more than 8 of a single rare or foil, and maybe even common and uncommon, I'm not sure. But last time I tried, you just cannot put more than 8 in your cart. It can't be done. And honestly, who the hell needs more than 8? 8 cards is 2 decks. If you're buying more than 8, there's a 99% chance that you're a speculator, price manipulator, or other shady piece of crap trying to make money off of other players who are actually trying to play the game. So why are these buyouts that have been happening even allowed? Why is anybody letting this happen? People are complaining that the TCG player price just shot up on Moat, for example. Well, maybe the sellers should stop selling 50 copies of Moat to the same damn person. It's somewhat easy to get around, but who has the time and money to set up 5 different PO boxes in multiple states or multiple zip codes with different names and stuff on them and then get them shipped to them? I mean, we can at least agree to make it very difficult for these people to do buyouts and very expensive, obviously. Now, I actually sell on eBay, as most of you know, and I sort of can and I sort of can't control the amount that a person buys. Now, I can't actually put a restriction on the listing, but if I list a quantity of 4 available and then somebody buys them all, then I relist it again at a quantity of 4 because I actually have 50 of them, and then I cancel all orders made in the future that are made by the same person, same eBay account, same PayPal address, or just the same shipping address. That's basically how you do it as a workaround if you want. Now, there's nothing stopping somebody from going to, let's say, 10 different vendors on eBay, but it's not really a true buyout if I still have 50 or more copies of the card, is it? I mean, they thought they bought them all out, but really I'm holding a lot more than they thought. I just put quantity 4 in the auction. Now, the other slightly extended version of this solution is to just stop selling to certain individuals at any quantity. People can use, company names and pseudonyms and fake names and PO boxes and stuff, so you can't really tell where they really reside, but I absolutely refuse to ship anything I sell, absolutely anything, within 10 miles of Star City Games headquarters. Simple as that. I will never, ever, ever sell a single card to those card-hoarding jerks as long as I live. If you happen to live near them, too bad, because I just have to assume that you're them and you're using a proxy address or something. You work there and it's an employee's home address or whatever. I mean, if they want to buy from me, they can do it from further than 10 miles out. They can go drive to go get the cards. Now, if I got an order and Martin Skrelly's name is on the PayPal address, guess what? It's getting canceled so quickly he'll think an automated bot script did it. And there's a conspiracy against him to not sell to him, which there should be. Start it right now. Do it, people. If everybody agrees on these policies, it is literally impossible to do a buyout of anything ever because nobody can get their hands on all the cards. It would keep the cards in players' hands instead of investors' hands, and it would basically stop price manipulation. So that would at least stop the fastest thing that's killing it, which is price manipulation, making it too expensive to play. Eventually, they're going to have to reprint the cards like 10 or 20 years in the future when there just aren't enough left. But all the price manipulation could kill Vintage and Legacy in like a month. So yeah, please do implement these changes if you are a seller. And kudos to you if you're already doing this. Yet another solution to this problem is if you're personally holding reserve list cards and the price spikes, dump your inventory on the market. I know you're just like holding the cards, you're an investor, whatever. You're not like some big constant card seller that has a giant store somewhere, sells on TCG all the time, but you have the cards and you can sell them or have a friend sell them for you or sell them to a major, reseller, just whatever. Just get them out on the market. One reason that you'd want to do this is because you'll make a ton of money. I mean, if the price spikes up to like double overnight, it's a pretty good time to sell it, don't you think? And the other reason is because you will ruin the price spike and you'll just basically ruin the entire investment value of whoever caused the spike, who is obviously a jerk. So you can pocket way more money than you ever should have been able to for those cards while also taking money directly out of the pockets of jerks like Skrelly. So next time you hear about a buyout, and you've got some of the cards, take your dump truck full of reserve list cards, back it up, and dump it directly on Skrelly's head. Metaphorically. I am not telling you to physically chase around Skrelly in a dump truck. If you want to do that, that's on you. You didn't hear it from me, and I'm not telling you to do that. And if you did decide to do something stupid like that completely on your own accord, I'm also not encouraging you to film it and put it on YouTube. Oh, and by the way, were you listening during my last video when I gave you 4 reasons on why Vintage and Legacy are going to die? Like, you heard that, right? So you don't want to get stuck holding worthless cards because you held on to them too long. You have to sell them eventually or you'll lose it all. That is a fact. That is not like an opinion. The way it's headed, mathematically, it is going to die at a certain point. That's just how, like, economics and math work. Watch my other video if you disagree. So if you're going to have to sell, you might as well do it at the most opportune time when it gets you the most money and does the most damage, coincidentally, to some very greedy, universally reviled people, some of which are actual criminals. Or allegedly, pending the results of certain court cases. So as a fun example of how this works, because I do have an example from the real world, I guess you could say, I used to be one of the absolute richest non-party hat holders in the history of RuneScape. So people had more absolute value than me because they had party hats, long story. But yes, I used to play RuneScape, don't judge me, at least I'm not a brony. I did a lot of investing and manipulation and stuff in the game when the Grand Exchange was released, which is basically like a server-wide eBay for items. So instead of like going into the bank and just screaming at each other like the worst version of marketing ever, you could just throw them up there and somebody would buy them. Buy lists, sell lists. It was more like just like a giant eBay with buy it now only. You could just go on there, oh, I want to buy some coal. Okay, buy it. And it was universal between all the servers. So it was all of the available inventory in the entire game that was for sale, basically. So one day I decided to take about 20 million gold and buy up a lot of gold bars, which were priced low because of a recent update that took people away from the crafting skill. And by a lot, I mean all of them. I bought every single gold bar for sale on the entire server for a week straight. So guaranteed money, right? Because now I control them all. I can sell them off a little bit higher because I set the price. I'm so rich, I can just push people around and, nobody can outbuy me basically, and nobody has more. Wrong. Somebody was holding on to about 10% as many gold bars as I bought total. And as soon as I was done buying them, when the price was creeping up a little bit, right before I was about to repost them in small amounts, they dumped their entire collection on the market. And that was when the price had gone up about 20%. So then they crashed the price back down to about what I paid for mine while still making a pretty good profit in the meantime. And even with the price crash, they still had inventory left to sell off. So that combined with, production matching demand means I was stuck with the gold bars for about 2 years. And you don't want to wrap up 20 million gold in RuneScape. That's enough to buy the best items in the game about 4 or 5 times over, if I remember correctly. Now, I had 100 million, so it wasn't like crushing, but I was not happy about this. I really couldn't sell any of them off without taking a loss, so I actually had to wait until gold bars had like a different use due to another game update. So this translates directly to the real world economy. This is exactly how it works, especially in Magic the Gathering. Now, if somehow people had the ability to stop me from buying more than 100 gold bars from them, would I have ended up with basically all 200,000 gold bars on the server? No, obviously not. If people could block just specifically me because they know what I'm doing from buying from them at all in the first place, there goes the entire plan. So both of my proposed solutions do work. Did somebody else dumping their entire inventory of gold bars onto the market completely destroy my entire investment? Pretty much, yeah. So please take these steps that I outlined to stop what's going on right now with the buyouts and the price spikes, and tell your favorite vendors to do the same. Or don't, because as I have stated in the past, I don't care about these two formats at all. If they die, it doesn't affect me at all. I have exactly zero money invested in Vintage and Legacy because I think it's a really bad bet right now, and it's a really unstable, stupid investment with a high risk. Of all the decks I've seen, which is 3, I've seen Dredge, I've seen Charbelcher, and I saw one other, I don't remember what it was. It's a single shot, one trick pony. It's just stupid. I know not all decks are that way, but everyone I've seen wins on like turn 1, and people are like, oh no, some of them win on turn 3, whatever. They're still stupid and they're repetitive, and way too much like who goes first coin flipping comes into play, and way too much draw luck and mulligan luck comes into play. The formats just don't look fun at all. I know some people enjoy them, but most people in MTG are like, they look at Charbelcher and they're like, no, that's just stupid. And they look at Dredge and they're like, that is an affront to all things holy and a slap in the face to how the game is supposed to operate. It's just idiotic. So I could care less what happens to Vintage or Legacy. Like I said, kind of ruins the last 2 videos that I just made, or I should say this one and the last one. But I found a logical solution. I found logical reasons that it is dying. I'm telling people, hey, jump off the investment right now. It's not safe. So there was a purpose to these 2 videos. Now, if you disagree with all the logic and everything I said in the last 2 videos, you're wrong, but feel free to comment in the comment section. Keep it polite or I will ban you. And prepare for people as smart and logical as me to tear you apart. And basically discount everything you said with line items of why you're wrong. Now, if you do have other suggestions about like what Wizards could do or what anybody else could do to fix the situation, or if you've heard anything from the staff about what they're doing, or if they're going to maybe do judge promos only, bring that back because that was the last thing to be banned from the reserve list reprinting, let me know down in the comments, and hopefully we'll have a little bit more silver lining to this problem. Or not really a silver lining, there really is no upside, just a solution, I guess, a fix. My solution is to stay away from the 2 formats. Don't touch them, don't buy them, don't play them. And if that's your solution too, you are a smart cookie. Speaking of smart people, remember how I was talking about the housing market crash in the last video about Vintage and Legacy, and I kind of compared them? Okay, nobody really knew for sure that a crash was coming. I mean, they could have reasonably thought that house prices were just going to go up, and that's what it was. And, certain markets were going to stay that high, and it was sustainable. I mean, kind of dumb if you thought that, but nobody was out there saying, or virtually nobody was out there saying, hey, this is going to crash. Like, this is going to crash any second now. This cannot keep up. If you're invested in Vintage and Legacy, not only do you know for a fact that it is going to collapse eventually, unless something is done to fix it, which right now nothing is being done to fix it. So as far as you know, it is going to crash, and all the cards are going to just die in value because nobody will play it anymore. All you have for demand is collectors, and that's it, and you damn well better get your cards graded. So if you're investing heavily in Vintage and Legacy right now, it's like, oh, more money, more money. Oh, next week I'm going to have more money, and next month I'm going to have more money, and next year I'm going to have more money. You know it's going to crash eventually. It's like the housing market if you could predict the future and knew it was going to crash. So stop being greedy, stop being stupid, and dump them all off onto the market right now. Or not right now, wait for a price spike. That would be even better, because then you could stick it to Skrelly. And hopefully while you're doing that, I'll come out with another video. So I'll see you guys then.